Welcome to video 4 of the personal totem. This video is going to cover exercises 3 through 5, and I am going to take you through each one as I personally follow the instructions and do the exercise. So for exercise 3, the instructions say to choose from the different lists, animal, material, archetype, and word, and at some point compare and consider their relationships. So out of the animal category, I chose bird because I already use bird as an icon in my work. The materials, I could have chosen all of them, but I started with wood, bone, stone, plant, metal, soil, all things that are very tactile and I enjoy working on with my hands. But I expanded that to cotton cloth and then considered the relationship to be nature. All of these are natural materials. For the archetype group, I started with explorer and artist because I really see myself as someone who is always on the lookout. I added rebel when I started to do the drawing phase in exercise 4. In the word category, I chose cocoon and tree. And as I worked on the drawing again, the words roots and remember came to mind, and I've written those down. So I am going to now go into exercise 4, where I show you the work that I did as a sketch and how the act of intuitive drawing actually brought out some other words. The word circle, because I innately just drew a circle, I added some ribs and roots. But I was looking at this as a nest, as a home icon, and somehow put the rebel in the nest, but also the rebel in the tree, and made a note that I was expanding the rebel from the inside outward. So the tree became a diagonal trajectory, and I believe I will add another branch of some sort, but right now I'm liking where this is going. I always consider roots in my work, and I think it's nice to go back to that, to include it, and the ribs are representative of bone, and the bird could be the interface between rebel, interior rebel, and the expanded rebel. So I'm starting to build a story around what's going on and start to add to it as I continue to work. In exercise 5, we will be building the totem, but just as the drawing evolved in that phase, the composition and the construction of the actual cloth piece should likely evolve as well. And I urge you to embrace the fact that it's not going to be as straightforward as you might think, but will become more enriched by the amount of time you spend on the cloth. So I took out a few pieces of cloth, opened up this piece that had been printed with houses, kind of getting a feel, is this something I want to use? Pulled out this piece which I had shown you in the materials section and decided to set it aside. Rather, I went to the instructions again and tried to respond to the question, what is the color of my sky? And as much as I love green and as beautiful as I think this cloth may be, I want a blue sky. I want to make this a joyful piece and uplifting. I'm in a place that's very, very positive, and I think the work will reflect that as I go along. But I also like to go through other objects that I have in my stash and see if, as I'm working or as I'm discovering them again, they can play a part. And so this netting came out, and I'm going to pull this down because I thought it might add a bit of cloud shaping that could be very, very organic based on the way I pull the netting apart. And of course, this is all very, very rough. But while I was also in the bins, I found this very, very special piece of cloth from a pant leg of a client's partner who asked me to make a commemorative quilt, and certain pieces like this wool cloth and this piece of a robe from another commission I had have meaning, because I've been brought into someone's experience as a fiber artist. So I thought, because this is brown, the ground foundation, the earth, it might work. But as I thought about it overnight, actually, and consider how precious this piece is to me, I don't want to use it all up at once. And it doesn't fit perfectly anyway. So what I'm planning to do is snip pieces and place it on the bottom and use it very sparingly, very preciously, and still have the same feeling and reference to that wonderful bit of acceptance that was afforded me as I was asked to come into a very, very sad situation. So cloth has history like that, and it really can take hold of you. I've continued to work on the piece a bit, and we'll go over what has evolved since the last portion of the video. I had originally thought this netting would make some nice clouds on the blue sky, but when I unfolded the other piece of fabric that was laying with it, I realized that it had some very nice white marks that were modeling from the dye bath. So I thought they stood well enough alone, and that I would use stitching to enhance, if anything, some cloud forms. So as I was removing the netting, I realized it worked quite well as a nest element, and so I've moved it downward, and this piece that was from a no reason stitching, I moved in as my egg form. I've cut up the pants that I told you about earlier into strips with these great threads that are just speaking things growing as they go in all different directions. And then, because the edge of this blue was up against the sky blue, I thought I might need something to define the edge, because the unraveled edges are so beautiful. So I put that there temporarily. I added a tree form temporarily, and then I realized that the piece here, this pinkish piece, which was dyed by using madder, would be a perfect addition to represent roots, because madder dye is made from the roots of the plant. So I thought that was very, very appropriate for this. And I think at this point I will stitch some of it down and see how it goes. Add some stitching, maybe add some other elements, but I would also recommend that you take it on your own now and try to see where yours goes, and know that nothing is wrong that you try. Keep taking photos as you work, and just keep adding and subtracting until you come up with something that gives you a sense of balance in your core, and you will know that it's a good composition.